Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's council meeting being held in the council chambers for this Monday, the 11th of September from 6 p.m. We'll start with the opening affirmation and acknowledgement of country. We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom, and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all. We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, hopes, tradition and culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community. A reminder, this council meeting is being webcast and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to being recorded and webcast. Please ensure that if and when you are speaking at this council meeting, that you are respectful to other people and use appropriate language. Albury City accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. An audio recording will be made for administrative purposes. Item CM3, conflict of interest declarations received and disclosure of political donations. Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor King. No conflict of interest declarations received for this evening's meeting, but in relation to disclosure of political donations and the requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, the Act under Section 10.4 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. In dealing with development applications, councillors need to take into account specific planning matters contained in the Act. Accordingly, the provisions of Section 4.151 of that Act are set out in the Council Officer's report detailing planning issues to be considered. The Local Government Act 1993, Section 375A requires that a division be called whenever a motion for a planning decision is put at a meeting of the Council. Planning decision means a decision made in the exercise of a function of Council under the Act, including a decision relating to a development application, an environmental planning instrument, a development control plan or a development contribution planned under that Act, but not including the making of an order under Division 9.3 of Part 9 of that Act. Thank you, Mayor King.
Thank you. CM4 apologies. There are no apologies for this evening's meeting. CM 4.2, attendance by councillors at meeting by audio visual link. There are none. CM 5, mayoral minute. There is none. CM 6, election of mayor for September 2023 to September 2024. CM 6.1, yeah, that is the election of mayor. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council invites nominations and undertakes the process of election for the position of Mayor until 14th September 2024, with the voting to be conducted by show of hands.
Thank you. Councillor Betteridge.
Happy to second that motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? That motion is carried. I'll now hand over to Mr. CEO, Frank Zatnich, who is the returning officer.
Thank you, Mayor King. As resolved by Council, the mayoral election will now take place. And I'd call for nominations for the position of Mayor with Council for the forward mayoral term till September 2024. I've received one nomination from Councillor Kylie King, nominated by Councillor David Thurley, seconded by Steve Bowen, and the Mayor King, Councillor King has accepted that nomination. Are there any other nominations? There are no other nominations. Nominations are therefore closed, and accordingly I declare Councillor Kylie King elected to the position of Mayor for the duration of the mayoral term to September 2024. Congratulations.
Thank you, councillors, for your support. CM7, election of deputy mayor for September 2023 to September 2024. So CM 7.1. If I could have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that council invites nominations and undertakes the process of the election for the position of deputy mayor until the 14th of September 2024, with the voting to be conducted by a show of hands.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? That motion is carried. I again will hand over to the returning officer, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor King. Likewise, council's resolved to undertake the process for election of deputy mayor for the remaining mayoral term to September 2024. I have one nomination submitted by Councillor Steve Bowen, nominated by Councillor David Thurley and Councillor Daryl Bettridge, and Councillor Bowen has accepted that nomination. Are there any other nominations? There are no other nominations. Accordingly, nominations are closed. At this point in time, as the only nominee, I can declare Councillor Steve Bowen elected as Deputy Mayor for the remaining mayoral term till September 2024. Congratulations, Councillor Bowen.
As a result of that mayoral election, we'll just take a quick media break. So those who are watching us online, we will return very shortly to the council meeting. So we will have a minor break at 6:07 and return very shortly. Thank you. All right, councillors, and for those on live stream, we have resumed the council meeting at 6:10. Our next item is CM9 action plans. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move the following action plans be received and noted. 1, actions complete for noting only. 2, actions awaiting response from external parties. 3, actions in progress. And 4, long-term issues more than 3 months.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. Happy to second that motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
Councillors, any questions or comments in relation to that item? If not, we'll put the motion. Those for? All in favour, that motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM10, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. CM 10.1, minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of August 2023 at 6 p.m. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor King, I'd like to move that the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 28th of August, 2023 at 6 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to second that motion.
Any comments? If not, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Reports from community forums. There are none. CM 12, notices of motion, notices of rescission. CM 12.1, notice of motion, mayoral task force supporting people seeking asylum. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council joins the local government mayoral task force supporting people seeking asylum as a supporter council, fulfilling the requirements of such membership as outlined in the terms of reference with the following responsibilities. A, support the purpose of the task force. B, supply organisational logo for use in promotional activities of the task force. And C, promote the task force campaign and associated activities.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor King. Happy to second that.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor King. On the 16th of August, I met Neil Parra, a Sri Lankan refugee who was walking from Ballarat to Sydney to bring to the attention of the Prime Minister the plight of his family and that of many others who remain in visa limbo land, which in Neil's case has lasted for more than 10 years. He is unable to work and cannot access Medicare, and he and his wife and their 3 children are being supported by the generous people of Ballarat. They are just some of almost 100,000 refugees who came to Australia seeking asylum, and they've been waiting for appropriate visas, but these have not been forthcoming in a very complex and overly bureaucratic system. But while Neil and his wife are unable to work, both are volunteers, Neil with the SES and his wife with the town's information centre. And his children, for example, regularly donate their hair to make wigs for cancer patients. The Greater Dandenong Council established this group and it chairs a group of 39 councils at present to advocate for the rights of people seeking asylum. The failure of the present system can be seen in the way the Sri Lankan families from Biloela were treated. They were taken from their community where they were working and paying taxes, and at huge cost to the government were put in detention and moved around Australia and all over the place. This is what the task force wants to fix for the Parra family and the many others who are in this no man's land. And I encourage my councillors to support the motion and to demonstrate that we are a refugee welcome zone. And in breaking news, I could tell you that last Friday, Neil and his family were granted permanent citizenship of Australia.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Any other speakers for or against the motion or questions? Councillor Thurley, did you wish to close the debate? We'll put the motion then, councillors. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM 13, presentations and deputations. There are none. CM 14, reports or minutes of committees and working parties. CM 14.1, minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 16th of August 2023. Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Through you to Mayor King, to move the recommendation as a motion that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 16th of August 2023.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, unless Councillor Thurley wishes to raise something. No, thank you.
All right, in that case, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM 15, documents for sealing. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you through you to move the recommendation as a motion that WAW bank lease to Albury. Sorry, I need to read the whole thing. I do apologise. That council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant of Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 and the General Seal of Management of Legal Documents and Advice Procedure. Council Seal and Management of Legal Documents and Advice Procedure. A, WAW bank lease to Albury City of Lavington Library, North Point Tower 1/366 Griffith Road, Lavington, lease commencing 12 July 2023 for 5 years, and that's file number 11/01621. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak to it at all, Councillor Glacken?
Briefly,
Yeah.
this was a new opportunity for council when this building was completed and the Lavington Library was moved into this facility, and it's an ongoing opportunity to have that library on a main street, Griffith Road, in Lavington, and it's a great facility for the community of Lavington to utilise. And I know that they have very regular reading times with children, which is fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll put the motion. Those for, those against, that motion is carried. CM 16 Officers Reports for consideration. CM 16.1 Assessment of Review of Determination Development Application 10.2022.39702.1 64 Lock Torrens Tidal Subdivision 2 Reserves and Tree Removal 8274 Centaur Road, Hamilton Valley. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I have a motion to move somewhere. And that is that Council 1 notes the contents of this report and 2 resolves to change the determination of the development application 10.2022.39702.1 by the way of the following. A, deletion of the following deferred commencement requirement, retention of the 3 existing hollow-bearing trees located in the southwest corner of the subject land into an amended subdivision plan, and B, insertion of the following deferred commencement requirement, retention of the existing hollow-bearing tree on proposed lot 36 in an amended subdivision plan.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second the motion, making.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
Thank you. Council previously approved this development with the condition to retain the 3 trees in the southwest corner of the subject land, with the view that this would meet Council's desired outcome of improved amenity and would have the least impact on the subdivision layout for the applicant. The applicant has now asked for a review of that decision. However, the additional information provided by the applicant simply states that meeting the previously approved conditions of approval or retaining the 3 trees would be, and I quote, impractical due to the steep slope of the terrain. The applicant is now seeking approval of the original application with no deferred commencement and no trees retained. The original application, without the retention of any large old trees, does not achieve the aim of the Albury Local Environment Plan 2010 to give effect to the desired outcomes, principles and actions contained in the Council's adopted strategies and policy documents, and is therefore contrary to the provisions of Section 4.151A1 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Specifically, Albury 2050 Outcomes 2.1 and 2.4, which are Albury is a zero emission and climate resilient city, and Albury is a recognised leader in the protection, conservation and management of our natural assets. And also Council's role as defined in the Regional Natural Environment Strategy, which includes to demonstrate and facilitate leadership through implementing a long-term approach to environmental decision-making, land management and advocacy, as well as the vision and priorities set out in the 2020 Albury Local Strategic Planning Statement, which are sustainable development and appropriate land uses that complement and respect the natural environment, and that the effects of climate change and natural hazards are mitigated through appropriate planning, increased resilience, and supporting sustainable urban environment. These trees provide valuable visual amenity. They also help to capture carbon and reduce the impacts of climate change, such as extreme heat, by providing valuable shade, improved air and water quality, and community wellbeing. You could say that residential developments that do not provide appropriate amenity for their residents are impractical. It is certainly impractical to remove amenity where it already exists. So I propose to agree to the review of the deletion of the requirement to retain the 3 trees in the southwest corner and instead require the retention of the tree on lot 36. The large hollow-bearing tree on lot 36 is not affected by the substantial cut and fill requirements and gradient issues identified by the applicant as the impracticalities preventing them from retaining the other 3 trees. The retention of the tree in lot 36 could be achieved by consolidating the adjoining lot 35 to the south, but how the tree is retained would ultimately be up to the applicant. So this is an opportunity to address the applicant's concerns and also meet council's desired outcomes, principles and actions contained in our adopted strategies and policy documents and the provisions of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Any other speakers for or against the motion or questions? Councillor Edwards, did you wish to sum up?
Just briefly, last week I attended the Cities Power Partnerships Climate Summit, and one of the key takeaways of the summit was the importance of trees in the mitigation and adaptation to climate change. One of the presenters was explicit that councils need to play our part by ensuring that developments retain large old trees. This review presents a great opportunity to hear the concerns of the applicant while also achieving the same outcome as the previous decision, a development with a high level amenity for its future residents. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. We'll put the motion. It's in division. Those for: Councillors Thurley, Callaghan, Edwards, Bowen, King, Betteridge, Cameron, Glacken and Baker. So that motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 16.2 Water Meter Reading Services Contract number 23/01369. Councillor Thurley.
One of the more exciting recommendations. I move that council accepts the tender from School Tech Consulting Services Proprietary Limited, the schedule of rates contract number 23/01369, water meter reading services for a 3-year period with an estimated contract value of $585,792, including GST.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Councillor Glacken.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Happy to put the motion, or did you wish to speak to it? No other speakers for or against? In that case, we will put the motion. Those for, those against, and that motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 16.3, the draft move, the Albury-Wodonga Integrated Transport Strategy Public Exhibition. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to move that Council A endorses move the Albury-Wodonga Integrated Transport Strategy to be placed on public exhibition pending endorsement from the City of Wodonga, and B, if no submissions are received through the public exhibition process, that move the Albury-Wodonga Integrated Transport Strategy be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley.
Second the motion, Mayor King.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Do you wish to open debate?
Thank you, Mayor King. I will. I'd like to note that the extensive collaboration has already gone into developing the current draft move strategy, with over 750 people contributing to pop-up sessions, presentations, workshops, surveys, and the pinning of an interactive map. Albury-Wodonga is the most car-dependent city in Australia, and historically our transport decisions have been made in isolation of each other. Neither system are integrated, accessible, affordable, or sustainable in the future. The draft move strategy aims to tackle these barriers and improve the way we move around our cities with better connectivity, encouraging active transport, and with the aim of reducing emissions and making our cities more vibrant and livable in the future. I look forward to reading the additional recommendations from residents of both Albury and Wodonga moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Speaker for, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, through you, to speak for the motion that is putting this draft strategy out to public exhibition should Wodonga endorse the proposal as well. And I think it's very important that we put it out to public for to our community for their opinions and their suggestions, as Councillor Callaghan has suggested as well. It is interesting to note in the report that the strategy acknowledges, so the report is highlighting that the strategy acknowledges that private vehicles will remain an important mode of transport in our regional city. And I can only emphasise something that I say on a very regular basis, and that is that we are a regional city who supports a large regional community. And we need to ensure that our regional community have the facilities and services, including the infrastructure, roads, footpaths, bicycle ways, etc., to ensure that they can come and utilise and access what our community has to offer for the region. It's important that there are options for people being able to move around our city. It's great that we can look forward to, should this be endorsed, more and better footpaths, more and better cycleways, but we need to ensure that that is not at the risk of losing the vehicular transport modes as well. So somehow we have to find a way forward, and our community needs to help us with that, a way forward to ensure that all modes of transport become an option in the future. For those who want to use footpaths and bicycle ways, they should be able to do so. And for those who cannot, due to distance or physical requirements, they need to be able to use vehicular transport. And I think that's important that it's highlighted in the report, and I look forward to the community having their say and making their suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Speaker 4, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'm really excited for Albury and Wodonga to have this integrated transport strategy, and overall I'm very impressed with the draft. I'm particularly impressed with some of the opportunities that the strategy has identified, such as solar shade and electric vehicle charging stations at council car parks, green, active and public transport transit corridors, and road construction projects that incorporate separated on-road cycling infrastructure. However, there are no actions that relate to these wonderful identified opportunities. So there are some gaps there. The strategy could also do more to address a number of other issues, such as accessibility and equity, the missing link between active and public transport and climate adaptation, not just mitigation, the inadequacy of some of the actions and timeframes to achieve the stated outcomes are of a concern. For example, the 2033 targets for transport, modes of transport are public transport 3.9%, walking 6%, and cycling 4%, which leaves driving at about 86%. I'm pretty concerned that these targets are underdone. By way of comparison, the ACT 2026 targets just a few years away for public transport at 16%, walking 7%, cycling 7%, and driving down to 70%. The action to develop a walking network improvement plan that prioritises pedestrian movements has a timeframe of 3 to 5 years just to develop the plan. I'd like to see a plan developed and started to be implemented in that timeframe. So I think this action should have a shorter timeframe. And I'm actually quite shocked looking at the number of areas on the map of Albury, Lavington and Thaguna that currently have no footpaths at all. Similarly, the action to develop a prioritised bicycle network improvement plan that supports an independent bicycle network also has a 3 to 5 year timeframe, which isn't adequate to get to the set goal of 4% cycling in just 10 years. I also have concerns that the 5 improved bus shelters per year is inadequate given the number of existing bus stops without shelter throughout our city currently. But I'm really keen, along with Councillor Glacken, to hear what our community thinks and how we can best support them to use more public and active transport. So I encourage everyone to have their say on this draft strategy.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. Through to the most relevant staff member. As of January 2023, I believe Albury City have made some pretty great headway with Transport for New South Wales in regards to their bus services. Can we have a little bit of an update of how many services we've had increased and how that's travelling, so to speak, travelling?
Ms. Oliver?
Thanks, Dave. Sorry, there was close to 3,000 drop-off and pickups at the train station, and there was about 300 at the airport. So of the services. There was an additional 300 services. They now operate 7 days a week. They are later on Friday and Saturday nights. And also we have a brand new route out to Thaguna, which covers off Kerr Road. That's been very popular. So there was an 18% uptick in the network usage on the network in the first 2 months since the rollout was in place. We've requested additional data from Transport for New South Wales as to where it's sitting now. We just haven't received that yet.
Thank you. It's positive.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against or questions? I've just got a quick question. Just in relation to the 30K speed limit, was looking at it as an option in the CBD at some future stage. How do you define that CBD location roughly, if that's okay, please?
There's a few different trains of thought, and that'll be investigated further as part of the CBD master plan review, because I think the one that we had in 2008 sort of didn't include Norriel Park and the foreshore, but that is part of our CBD, and that's, you know, part of what makes Albury so great, that they're connected. So I can't answer that. That'll be covered off in the CBD master plan.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to close debate?
Yes, thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to close debate with saying there's lots of opportunity and progress for the future. It'll be wonderful to have that integrated concept of two cities, one community, if it's voted for in Wodonga Council as well. Also, as noted, looking forward to some clear actions, and hopefully the community have some ideas about how that should look for them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. We'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. CM 16.4 2023 Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference Voting Delegates. Councillor Bowen.
I have a motion to read.
Yeah, we'll get that up.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation as a motion that Council A note, as per Council Facilities and Expenses Policy, and the Mayor and Deputy Mayor are provided with 2 voting delegate positions at the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference, November 2023. And B, note the Deputy Mayor is not available to attend as a voting delegate. And C, nominate 3 additional councillor voting delegates to be decided by way of a show of hands.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley.
Second that motion, Mayor King.
Thank you. We'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. We are now looking for some nominations for the Local Government New South Wales. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I would, to you, not through you this time, I would like to nominate.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
I also, Mayor King.
Lovely. Councillor Thurley.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Callaghan.
Councillor Callaghan, are you available and happy to attend? Therefore, we have our 3 delegates. If there's no other interests, all in favour of endorsing those 3? That motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Look forward to joining you at the conference. Oh,
That's okay.
perfect. Sorry. Next item, CM 16.5 2023. Oops, Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference motions. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you, through you, Mayor King, to move the recommendation as a motion that council endorses all 4 identified in this report being submitted to Local Government New South Wales for consideration for inclusion in the 2023 Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference business paper.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
The motion making.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to that one?
Yes, I would like to thank the staff for their assistance with these motions, noting that 3 of the 4 came from councillors, and I'd also like to thank the staff for putting up their staff recommendation or staff motion being recommended this evening as well. It's a good spread of motions, and it is important to note that these motions need really to be applying to councils or local government areas across New South Wales. It's not about us as a council, it's about councils across New South Wales. So it's statewide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Speaker 4, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to speak briefly about the proposed motion about balloon releases. The current laws in New South Wales around balloon releases are confusing, hard to enforce, and with up to 19 balloons at a time still allowed to be released, pose a significant threat to not only our local wildlife, but also marine wildlife when balloons from Albury City drift all the way to the New South Wales coast, as happened a few years ago. Closer to home, Albury is very lucky to have a very good platypus population in the Murray River, close to our CBD. According to the Australian Platypus Conservancy, platypus have been known to be killed by being entangled in balloon litter. And as there are many places close to the Murray River where releases of balloons are common, platypus in the area are definitely at risk. Releasing balloons was banned in Victoria a few years ago, and since then there has been a marked reduction in the amount of balloon litter that has been recovered from their waterways. The Australian Platypus Conservancy believe that a total ban in New South Wales across the state at a state government level is long overdue. So this motion calls on local government New South Wales to seek a ban on all balloon releases, not including balloons that are hot air balloons, all those that are for scientific purposes. So I encourage councillors to support this and the other proposed motions to be brought to the Local Government New South Wales Conference in November.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Speaker 4, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to speak in regards to one of the motions that I've put forward. I'll be advocating at the local government to New South Wales to improve the capacity and quality of health service and infrastructure related to mental health in regional New South Wales to meet the growing community demand. I'll be advocating for providing greater access to affordable mental health services with sufficient workforce and reliable funding, prioritising prevention and early intervention, and recognising the impact of social determinants such as job opportunities, education, housing and transport in this space. And also to meeting the challenges of recent natural disasters and the pandemic on economic security and social connectedness for individuals in the community. And there are growing concerns that the New South Wales health services and infrastructure, particularly in regional areas, is not fully meeting community needs and expectations. So I look forward to representing Albury in that space. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Glacken, did you wish to sum up or? Yeah, happy to put the motion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is carried. Thank you. CM 16.6 Aquatics 2023 season extension findings. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. And if the motion could be put onto the board. Here we go. Thank you. I'd like to move that council endorse an ongoing extension to the swim season of the Albury Swim Centre based on reduced operation hours, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. until 6 p.m, Saturdays, 7 a.m. until 12 p.m, and close Sundays from mid-April to mid-September at an approximate cost of 307, and I think it's 328,000. But
yeah, we'll pause and get that costing corrected, just so everyone is very clear with what we're debating. So, one moment. Thank you, Councillor Baker. I think that final line there, if you're happy to confirm at the approximate cost of 328,000. Wonderful. Councillor Bettridge.
Through you, Mayor King, happy to second the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Baker, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please, Mayor King. First off, I'd like to congratulate the council previously for extending the season as a trial this past year, and it was fairly well patronised by a lot of hardy swimmers, a number of whom are in the audience tonight. So that was a really good start, and I'd also like to applaud the council officers and the council, if they in fact agree to this tonight, for making Albury able to have year-round swimming. So up until now, we've never had any winter water in Albury, and it's been a real problem for people that swim because it's their passion, because it's for their mental health and their physical health, and they're dead set committed. So I think this is a really good opportunity. It gives clarity into the future. It can be built into the next contract for the Albury and Wodonga pools. And I think it will just grow and go better and better as we make it a little bit more desirable to be at the Albury Swim Centre, with maybe some heaters and good coffee in the canteen and healthy food. And it really is a great start. I know it's costing an extra $328,000 to open for 4.5 more months, but our average spend for what Albury pays compared to other cities around New South Wales is really, really low. We don't spend a lot on aquatics, and we haven't spent a lot for a long time. So I applaud this recommendation. I hope the other councillors will support it. And I know the swimmers out there are really keen, and I think there'll be a lot more people using it this time than this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Councillor Bettridge.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd like to speak in favour of the motion before us this evening. I believe that Albury City Council has a duty to provide infrastructure and services to members of our community. The provision of year-round access to the Albury Swim Centre falls within that duty. The issue that arises is, for how long should the Albury Swim Centre be open per day, and on what days should that occur? The hours of operation set out in the motion are not randomly selected. They have been carefully and thoughtfully compiled using the data presented in the supporting report provided. The community had the opportunity through the extended swim season to utilise the Albury Swim Centre, and from that usage, we as an organisation could glean valuable information on the level of use. The overwhelming sentiment that I received was, thank you for extending the season, but what do we do now that the extended season is over? We have listened, and I believe this motion provides a solution to this very question. If successful, this motion will provide the community the opportunity to utilise the Albury Swim Centre on an all-round year basis for the first time. And we as a council will be able to monitor the level of patronage, service delivery, and from that be able to draw conclusions as to the viability of providing this as an ongoing basis. The satisfaction and positive impact on people's health and well-being is at the forefront of my thinking, but alas, we also have to balance budgets and make judgment calls on best use of finances. I would hope that the community will use this opportunity to utilise the year-round access to a point that we could look to extend the operating hours in the future, because patronage has grown to a point that we could not contemplate a return to our traditional swim season. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bettridge. Question, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, I had a question relating to the increased carbon emissions that will arise from the increased pool hours. Can staff, through you, Mayor King, provide an update on the upcoming available government funding for council pools to switch to electric heat pumps that could be powered, in theory, by renewable power from the grid? Mr. Glass.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Edwards, and through you, Mayor King. Staff participated in a information session last week in relation to the use of heat pumps, and we're continuing to gather information in that space. As part of a condition report, we'll be for understanding the condition of our existing boilers, as well as the costs and opportunities associated with converting those to heat pumps in the future.
Thank you.
Speaker 4, Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. Yes, I speak in favour of this motion. I only have one small question, and the initial, if we had taken the costings for the report, it would have been 307,000. And with these extended hours, it goes to 328. One of the issues is that on weekdays, we have a shift of 5 hours from 6 till 11, and then a further split shift from 3 till 6 in the afternoon. I just wonder if Mr. Glass has had any discussion with likely contractors to show how that might work, because it would mean that some person who started work at 6 a.m. would, if rostered on the whole time, not finish till 12 hours later.
Mr. Glass?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Thurley, and through you, Mayor King. We have had discussions with the existing aquatics management supplier, and they endorse the proposed hours as well.
Thank you. That's enough for me.
Thank you. No more comments. Councillor Baker, to sum up debate.
Thank you, Mayor King. I'd just like to say that it's not unusual for 50-metre outdoor pools to operate through winter in different places. It can be done well, and I think with the lead time we're getting on this occasion, we'll be able to improve the facility down there a lot by just doing simple things like making it a little bit more comfortable for the swimmers and encourage everyone to get out there. So thank you.
You. We'll put the motion. Those for, those against, that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Item CM 16.7, Seville Avenue Reserve Crime Review. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor King. I have an alternate motion. Thank you, Mayor King. I move that Council A receive and note the Seville Avenue Reserve Crime Report. B, endorse the installation of fixed public CCTV in the Seville Avenue Reserve. C, endorse the delivery measures based on crime prevention through environmental design practices such as bollard upgrades, seating, signage, maintenance regime, community awareness campaign, and the installation of artwork on drain culverts in the Seville Avenue Reserve as part of Council's operational budgets. D, endorse an investigation into the feasibility of realigning the walking path and construction of a drain culvert in the Seville Avenue Reserve that is based on crime prevention through environmental design practices. E, endorse an investigation into the feasibility of connecting the pathways in the Seville Avenue Reserve to the greater pedestrian footpath network surrounding the reserves. And F, resolves further to carry out works to block access to the Seville Avenue Reserve from Kiteless Road and to prevent access to the drain culvert under Kiteless Road adjacent to the Seville Avenue Reserve. I thought there's a slight amendment to F after some discussions. Thank you. Small intermission. F, resolves further to carry out works to block access to the Seville Avenue Reserve from Kiteless Road and to ensure access to the drain culvert under Kiteless Road to the Seville Avenue Reserve is appropriate and safe.
Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second the motion, making.
Councillor Cameron, do you wish to open debate?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I thought the report into this matter, although we waited longer than I would have liked to, but it eventually got here. And it is a good report in that it identifies, in my view, accurately and reflects the experience of those residents, as many residents who have spoke to me about this problem and the antisocial behaviour, the violence, the domestic violence, the threats of violence, the riding of two-stroke motorbikes at 3, 4 in the morning through the reserve, and the many other antisocial features that they're being subjected to in that area. I sadly can't say that I agree with the recommendations in the report. They are at least counterintuitive in my view. Yes, we know that the prevention through environmental design practices is an important doctrine and theory, but to go so far as to say that we should increase access and not restrict access in this case is a triumph of doctrine over reality. The problem is clearly caused and being caused by predominantly younger people, not exclusively younger people, travelling through from the other side of Kiteless Road and using the place as a refuge for antisocial and illegal activity, including the dumping of stolen material and items. This is a legacy issue in one sense. I remember back in '95, I was on a thing called the Hume Province REDO, which was regional development, attempted to institute regional development, one of many, and being briefed by the Development Corporation, the Albury-Wodonga Development Corporation, who of course designed all this area. They designed it purposefully as the other side of Kiteless Road as a domicile precinct for workers for the Borg-Warner, which later became BTR and DSI gearbox factory. And it was anticipated that those workers would be relatively lower socioeconomic in terms of their earning potential. I'm pleased to say that good years of union membership improved that situation, and they ended up with good wages. But anyway, before the place closed. But in any case, the idea there was that there would be an access path from there directly across and all the way into the CBD of Lavington, because it was presumed that people with lower socioeconomic potential would not have motor vehicles, which is actually ironically becoming a view we've heard tonight, which is considered now a positive thing. But back in the 70s, it was just a fact of life for many people. Not as many people had motor vehicles. Things are radically different now. There is no logical reason to have access from Kiteless Road to Seville Avenue Reserve. It only has negative connotations and effects. The bus stop, which is the alternate form of transport, once again, which we're encouraging people to become more involved with, is on Kiteless Road. There is no bus stop in Seville Avenue, or if there is, you don't get to it by going through there. People are using that connecting area for nefarious purposes only, and it's the residents who indeed are suffering. It would be a very sad day when this council does not listen to the cries of its residents who are experiencing hardship, threats of violence, threats of sexual assault, being subjected, and their children being subjected to having to be kept awake by antisocial activity every weekend and many times through the week. A council should be, a democratic council, should be representative of its people and listen to its residents. We need to remove that useless access from Kiteless Road, and we need to make sure that people aren't loitering and getting into that drain culvert. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. Yes, I speak against this motion, and if it were defeated, I would return to the original motion put up by staff. In reading the report, and in fact, in attending the on-site visit on the 24th of June, where residents, staff and police attended, we noted comments from most of the residents. The police report a minimal number of crime incidents in the area, and I'd have to say that on the day that I attended that meeting, the residents were much the same. Yes, they had concerns about access from Kiteless Road, but the report, as far as I can see, offers solutions by blocking some areas and changing some things. I don't believe that CCTV there is necessary. We do have a mobile one we can use at times. There were a number of other suggestions about activated LED lights, movement activated LED lights. We certainly don't want to flood the whole area with lights. It'll be in people's backyards. But we had 53 visits to our survey site about this, when have your say, and 40 people completed the survey. And of the people who were targeted in that area in their letterbox, a third of them responded. So we had good feedback from the residents, and I believe that the staff report adequately captures their concerns and adequately addresses the problems that were shown to exist there. So if this motion doesn't get up, I would revert to the original staff motion.
Thank you, Councillor Thurley. Speaker 4, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor King. got quite a bit to say on this one, so if you could bear with me, please. I appreciate the feedback on Seville Avenue Reserve from all those who completed the survey. Some of the suggestions around beautification and improved amenity, regular maintenance of surrounding vegetation, footpaths and lighting would dramatically improve the livability, thus aiding in crime reduction through thoughtful environmental design. However, this does not address the 65% of all incidents which are occurring during the night. The area requires lighting to allow members of the public to walk safely at night with the comfort of knowing what surrounds them and to mitigate unwanted members of the public congregating in an antisocial way. The area also requires CCTV cameras to deter, prevent, and to apprehend those in the community who continue to display behaviours that make people feel unsafe. These are the experiences of the 39 residents that border the reserve verbatim. Sexual harassment, a man flashing himself and youth being disrespectful, motorcycle riding through the laneways, fights, people kicking and damaging fences, youth damaging property, theft, break-ins, garbage being dumped through the drainway, drunk and rowdy behaviour, abuse and threatening behaviour, illegally riding motorbikes through the park at all hours of the night. Witness to threatening and violent behaviour, destruction of property and theft occurring at various hours of the day and night. General delinquency of foot traffic, kicking in fencing, scoping out cars and houses, threatening residents, jumping the rear fences of the properties, antagonising pets, dumping vehicles, trolleys, dumping rubbish and domestic disputes, fires, vandalism, damaged fences, verbal abuse, motorbikes cutting to and from Kytler's Road, assaults, property damage, illegal dumping, theft, drug use, drunk teenagers, used needles, rubbish, small deliberate fires, aggressive behaviours, dirt bikes from park to laneways. The lawns are very long. Would love lighting down there as it's very scary walking in the early hours of the morning. My back fence has been kicked in. A number of issues responded to domestic violence, violence with a knife, damage to personal and council property, needles thrown over the fence, rocks and broken bottles thrown over fence, drunk youths entering property and threatening to run through my house, damaged fence and antisocial behaviour. Youths were harassing my sons when they were walking through the reserve on their way home from school. People letting their dogs run free with dog poop everywhere. Motorbikes, kids roaming around trying to steal my dinner as I walked from the corner store. Vandalism, riding bikes at all hours, day and night, graffiti, kicked in colour-bond fencing. I've seen children playing in the drain, which is seemingly unsafe. The drain runoff can become blocked, which is resulting in minor flooding on the road. Property damage, alcohol use, drug use, motorbikes riding through constantly, violence, drugs, property damage, excessive noise, unregistered vehicles causing havoc, constant fighting, intoxicated people, drug use, unregistered motorbikes riding through with no lights on, property damage, and someone has followed me. I understand that there has been minimal numbers reported, but perhaps people get really tired of reporting these incidences. I know the police do a fabulous job locally, but we know full well that they are also understaffed. The suggestion that the mobile CCTV camera could be deployed is further acknowledgement that the area requires surveillance. We have one mobile CCTV trailer that already can't meet the demand of the community and the police. There has been 37 requests for the use of this trailer in the first 6 months of the year, and it was only able to be deployed 16 times. It is not feasible or realistic solution for Seville Avenue Reserve or for its residents to have to continually put up with such offensive behaviours. The reserve is a thoroughfare and will have people using it in a transient manner. It is about making the space safer for residents and its user groups. Perhaps this is timely to consider bringing forward the investment into a second mobile CCTV camera, which is in the 2024-25 budget. Mungabarina is an area where CCTV camera, the mobile one, has been successful in stopping antisocial behaviours in that main area and has remained there for the last 6 weeks. As I walked into council chambers this evening, I was welcomed with signage stating CCTV cameras are continuously recording this area for public safety and security. Seville Avenue Reserve certainly meets the Albury City's objectives of the Public CCTV Code of Practice and Standard Operating, which is to utilise CCTV as part of a holistic community response to criminal activity, which I believe it does in Seville Avenue Reserve. Support the New South Wales Police capacity to monitor and respond effectively to incidences in the Albury LGA where public CCTV systems are located. Provide the New South Wales with recorded material to be used as evidence against detection, identification, apprehension, and prosecution of offenders, and to improve public perceptions of safety and confidence in the security of public areas across the LGA of Albury where public CCT systems are located. And I also believe that that point that I finished on there will support the Seville Avenue Reserve. This is an area in our
Councillor
community
Callaghan, we've
that
got
will
5
benefit.
minutes in closing.
Yeah, that will benefit the installation of CCTV, lighting, and crime prevention strategies through environmental design practices collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Bowen.
Thank you. I walked through the Seville Avenue Park today or area, and I spoke to a couple of residents who found that most of the challenges or troubles were located in one area more so, and they didn't notice too much that was happening with them. But there was mention of a bridge over the drain, so I'd just like to ask a question, if I can, to the most relevant member of staff about a bridge over the drain being suggested on the 28th of June when they had the open day there, and also a park bench. I noticed there was no park benches or rubbish bins. So is there the opportunity for those to happen?
Ms. Code.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Bowen, and through you, Mayor King. Certainly the park bench is what is proposed as part of the solution. We will be looking at a park bench or park benches, and there'll be a culvert rather than a bridge over a drain. There'll be a culvert over a drain to facilitate safe walking.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Yes, I speak against components of this motion and support Councillor Thurley when he said that should this motion be lost, he would propose to revert to the original motion as I would otherwise have done myself. I believe that some of the components are good because some of the components are from the original motion. I do not support the installation of fixed public CCTV in this park. And I do not support the closure of the access as has been suggested in this motion from Councillor Cameron and supported by Councillor Callaghan, seconded by Councillor Callaghan. I believe that we should be encouraging people to utilise this park. We should be encouraging people to use this park as an access way to and from all sorts of locations. We talk in one report earlier this evening about encouraging people to be using alternative modes of transport or forms of transport, including walking and riding bicycles. This is a perfect example of an area that would be able to, would lose the opportunity for walking through on that access or riding their bicycles through. We should be increasing the number of people going through. And I think the suggestions of having the seating, the better access over the drainway, etc., are all positive opportunities for us to enhance and encourage people to use the space. The police, as indicated in our report, have said that they do not believe this is an appropriate space for fixed CCTV, and they suggest that we utilise the mobile opportunities. And I agree with Councillor Callaghan that we should be bringing forward the opportunity of further mobile CCTV cameras rather than waiting for them to come forward in the 24-25, I think it is, budget program. I note in the report that there is reference made and the attachments, there is reference made to lights. And I know that the people in close proximity were concerned, the residents were concerned with light spill into their properties. Clearly that's an issue, but clearly we do need to have our spaces appropriately lit. So I think the staff have made some fabulous recommendations, and I believe we should be supporting those recommendations because they've done the research they've worked collaboratively with the police to come forward with the recommendations that we have tonight, and that I also support them because the measures that they're wanting to introduce, their recommendations, are enhancing the opportunity for people to utilise those spaces in a more positive way. If we have greater activity in that space, greater lighting, greater passive surveillance, then we will decrease the antisocial behaviour as a natural course. And that's something that we've endeavoured to do in a number of locations around the city. The other point I wish to raise is that this is one of many parks and open spaces that we have in Albury. I do not believe it's the intention of people to have public fixed CCTV networks in all of our recreation facilities, and I don't think we should be starting with this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Question, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor King. Through you to Ms. Code. If this motion was defeated and the original one came up, what is the likelihood of getting the mobile CCTV out to this location, and how long would it be possible to be there for?
Ms. Code.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Baker, and through you, Mayor King. As has been mentioned previously tonight, the current CCTV trailer is heavily utilised. It's at capacity. We have access requests compared to how we can use it. So in terms of where it's located next, that is a discussion with the police and Albury City Council based on community feedback about priority areas. And then if that is a priority area and the police concur, we can certainly move it there. But it's all about having that discussion about where it goes next.
Thank you. Yeah. Speaker against, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. I have to respectfully disagree with Councillor Cameron's motion, as have others. Council doesn't actively monitor our fixed CCTV, and in accordance with New South Wales government guidelines, the New South Wales Police don't actively monitor the CCTV either. Crime prevention is part of Council's role in providing a safe community, and it is one of our 2050 objectives. I do hear the concerns of the community about crime, particularly violent crime, and I also want to feel safe in our community, but not just feel safe, but to be safe. But unfortunately, CCTV doesn't prevent crime from happening. It only helps to apprehend offenders once the crime has occurred. What can be shown to reduce crime is environmental design, including lighting. And I'll ask a question about that in a moment. Giving young people the best start in life by fostering healthy behaviour and education, and targeting the underlying causes of crime in our community. So acknowledging the limited benefits of CTV and the recommendation from the police that it would not be effective in this setting, I believe that the other proven crime prevention initiatives to help make our city safe, as articulated in the original motion, are the best way forward.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Question, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to the most relevant member of the staff, Mayor King. Noting that the mobile CCTV procurement is set for the 24-25 budget, if councillors were of a mind to bring that forward, how quickly might that be actioned?
Ms. Code.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Callaghan, and through you, Mayor King. We could certainly rearrange it and bring it forward in our schedule and make it a priority item. If I would be able to confer and then give you the timeline, take the timeline on notice, that would be appreciated. We would certainly make it a priority if that is what councillors chose.
Thank you, Mickey. To clarify that it would be possible to bring forward a purchase. So we're not waiting for 2024-25 because it's not available.
Thank you for the question. To clarify, we can bring forward the report. We have a report to look into the CCTV trailer, which would then make recommendations and outline police appetite for another trailer and demand for the trailer.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You and councillor Edwards, question.
Yes. The question relates to item D in either this motion or the original motion. Would it be possible for the feasibility of sensor lighting as recommended by the police and notably absent from either motion to be included in the feasibility study into the realigned walking path? Ms. Code?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor King, we can certainly put that into D if that is what council wishes us to investigate further.
Thank you. To close debate, councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor King. There were some comments, I think, from councillor Thurley that reported crime is minimal. I think we all know, and we all have to take that on board as part of the reality that the New South Wales Police are unable to break down their figures to, as I understand it, less than suburb or locale at least. And this has been problematic through this whole examination of this issue. I would caution councillors not to simply tell themselves that that crime is not a problem in this area. I think the evidence from the residents is clear, it's compelling, and I wonder how many councillors would put up with this situation that those residents are being subjected to. Reducing crime through environmental design features is a lovely concept. It's a wonderful theory. It's probably valid, I think. But if it comes down to, in application, a choice of putting other things there and not blocking off Kiteless Road, it's not going to solve the problem. The problem here is people entering that reserve for nefarious purposes late at night, early in the morning, through the access of Kiteless Road, which serves no social or economic benefit anymore, if it ever did indeed. There is no logical reason to have that area open. It causes extreme hardship for the local residents and it needs to be closed. The provision of seats, beautification of the reserve, converting the reserve perhaps into a proper park are all worthy objectives and something we would all support, I'm sure. But it's not going to solve the crime problem. Activating the area, as we so euphemistically call it, and having people in there in greater volumes will be wonderful and will achieve its purpose through the day, early in the morning, in the middle of the day potentially. They're not going to be there at 11 o'clock at night. They're not going to be there at 4 a.m. in the morning. They're not going to be there on the weekends and early into the wee hours of the morning when people are riding unregistered motorcycles through the place. We need to physically block that access. It's the right thing to do. It's the only pragmatic and practical outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cameron. There, we'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That motion is defeated. Councillor Thurley, you had an alternate motion? The initial recommendation?
That Council A received an reserve crime review report. B, not endorse the installation of a fixed public CCTV network in the Saville Avenue Reserve, but to deploy the mobile CCTV trailer subject to availability and New South Wales Police and Council priorities. C, endorse the delivery of measures based on crime prevention through environmental design practices such as bollard upgrades, seating, signage, maintenance regime, community awareness campaigns, and the installation of artwork on drain culverts in the Saville Avenue Reserve as part of Council's operational budget. D, endorse an investigation into the feasibility of realigning the walking path and construction of a drain culvert in the Saville Avenue Reserve that is based on crime prevention through environmental design practices. And E, endorse an investigation into the feasibility of connecting the pathways in the Saville Avenue Reserve to the greater pedestrian footpath network surrounding the reserve area.
Thank you, councillor Gluckin.
Happy to second, and then I have a question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion?
I think enough has been said already in the debate and the to and fro, so I'll leave it at that.
Question, councillor Gluckin.
Thank you. Through you to councillor Thurley. Would he consider incorporating a further item, F, bring forward review of further mobile CCTV capacity for consideration?
Just bring that up.
Of further mobile CCTV capacity.
Councillor Gluckin, that appears to be up. Item F, happy with the wording of that, and councillor Thurley?
Thank you.
Thank you. Question, councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor King. Similarly, a question to councillor Thurley. Would he entertain an amendment to item D to insert sensor lighting after walking path?
Your investigation into that element, yes. But not make a decision based on it right now. Yeah.
Just to update the wording. Wonderful. So item D, happy with the wording of that, councillor Thurley and the seconder?
Yeah.
Speaker 4, councillor Edwards.
Thank you, and thank you, councillor Thurley, for accepting that amendment. I'm very happy to see the crime prevention through environmental design, that it features heavily in this report. And I agree that more footpaths within and linking the reserve will improve accessibility and safety of this green space. I'm also pleased to see the consideration of integrated public art on the culvert faces to minimise instances of graffiti. I think this has worked really well in South Albury, and it should be used more widely across our city. I'd also encourage staff to consult the Albury Youth Council about engaging young local artists to complete any proposed public art installations.
Thank you. Speaker 4, councillor Gluckin, is that right?
Yes, thank you. I'm very supportive of this because it's an opportunity for us to turn what is naturally an open space into something that is more aesthetically pleasing and more, hopefully, a greater utilisation by the community, and turn it into something that the people want to be able to use, increase that passive surveillance, increase the connectivity, and encourage people to use that facility to walk through and to ride their bikes through. We want people using these public spaces. We don't want to be locking them up, even if it's just from one direction. We want the people of our community to be able to go and utilise those spaces, knowing that they're not only feeling safe, but they are safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen, question.
Thank you, Mayor King, through you to the most relevant member of staff. Is it possible to make it difficult for a motorcycle to get through Kiteless Road? I know that after being there today too, that it's quite easily you could get something through there. Is there a way that we could partition that in a way that people can get through from a walking point of view and maybe a push bike point of view, but not maybe a motorcycle?
Ms. Coe.
Thank you for the question, councillor Bowen, through you, Mayor King. It is certainly possible to make it more difficult, but we still need to make sure there's access for people in wheelchairs, people in prams. So there's a balance there. But the placement of how we place the bollards can make it more difficult and how they have to navigate the bike through. But as I said, we still need to have access for people with wheelchairs and prams.
Thank you. Follow up? Yep.
Just from my observation today, being there, the couple of people that I spoke to were worried about that through traffic. That's all. That was their major concern.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan. Question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor King. Just wondering if we're aware of how many respondents were the ones that are objecting to the Kytler Road, just blocking off that Kytler's Road access.
Ms. Cove.
Thank you for the question, through you, Mayor King. We certainly had some respondents in the drop-in survey and wanting to block it off. In terms of the numbers, I would have to confirm that with you and take that on notice, but some certainly did want it blocked off, but it does cause other challenges from a safety point of view, because it does create areas of entrapment. You don't have that walking through access. There's other risks associated with blocking off that area.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, do you wish to sum up or happy to put the motion? We'll put the motion. Those for, those against, that motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Cameron is noted as voting against the motion. CM 17, officers' reports for noting. CM 17.1, 2022-23 development statistics, June quarter. Councillor Thurley.
Thank you, Mayor King. I move that council receives and notes the information in the June 2023 quarterly development statistics report.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Thurley, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor King.
Any councillor speaking for or against, or any questions? If not, happy to put the motion. Those for, those against, that motion is carried. CM 18, delegates' reports for noting. There are none. CM 19, notice of urgent business. Councillors, there is none. CM 20, confidential matters. There are none. I declare the meeting closed at 7:22. Thank you, councillors.